why I think every young adult should start off by living in a tiny home. In 2012, my husband and I got married and immediately moved into a tiny 400 square foot home on my grandparents' property. We then welcomed our little girl and we lived in this home for a total of 6.5 years. And here's a little glimpse into that. Today we are going to be doing a house tour of our tiny house that we've been living in for almost 5 years now.
So this is the outside of the house. It definitely fits our style, which is the country living. Can I come in? Yay! And hello.
Welcome.
Well, who is this?
To our cottage. Arya's eating her cracker on our bed. My husband and I were engaged for 4 months and 3 days prior to getting married, and we had no idea whatsoever where we were going to live. And my grandparents just so happened to have their tiny home available to rent, which was really neat as newlyweds, and they actually built it when I was about 3 to 4 years old for my aunt and uncle to live in temporarily when they were newlyweds, so it was really neat that we got to do the same thing. I really feel like the chance to be able to live in a tiny home really helped us with saving and getting in the correct mindset of creating a debt-free lifestyle, and then we were able to save up to buy a piece of land and affordably be able to build our home. In 2017, we found out baby number 2, my little boy Brody, was on his way, and we were really growing out of this home. And so we ended up buying land, building our home that we still live in today, and you guys have been able to see the whole journey of this home come together. A really fun story, we actually moved in with our home unfinished the day baby Brody came home from the hospital. In today's video, we're going to be giving an updated home tour, and then I'm going to take you guys into the backyard and I'm going to share with you guys our new build projects and give you guys a tour of that. So let's go ahead and come on inside. That little sweet baby Brody just turned 7 a few weeks ago, and we've officially been in this house for 7 years. I feel like time is truly flying by. And with that being said, I'm going to be taking you guys into our tiny home we are building right here on our property, which truly feels like a full circle moment. I'm really excited to give you guys a tour around, and by the end of the video, you guys will be able to see what this tiny home looks like today. We've officially been building this tiny home for a year now, and I think it's going to take probably another 6 months to fully accomplish it and bring in all of those furniture pieces and make it feel like a cozy country home. Our sole purpose for building this tiny home is for multi-generational living. So that can be so many different things, whether it be in-laws, being built for a mother-in-law suite, sometimes people call it granny pads, or even multi-generational living could be for your adult children. Maybe they're graduating high school or graduating college and they need that transitional space. We are really thinking future in mind, but this is specifically being built for my mom to live in. And I just think that this is such a great thing, especially where we live, which is a retirement community. Since our tiny home is a 1-story home, it would be very desirable for resale if we ever chose to sell our home. For people that are in their 50s and 60s, taking care of their elderly parents and needing a space that is 1 story. For people that aren't able to climb upstairs or that don't want to climb upstairs when they're a little bit older. We also did take in mind the front porch, and so we will be fixing that, and it also has the option to have a ramp later down the road if that needs to be something to think about. One thing I specifically love about tiny homes is the different types that you can build, of course. You can have them made from a shed, which we were highly considering. If you guys haven't seen the Shed to Tiny Home tour that we shared a few years back. I will link that down below. It is such a great video, and they live here in Washington as well. If I was specifically building a home from scratch right now, something that I would highly consider versus a tiny home is building a home that's actually a multi-generational home. My thought process is having a house that on the other side of the garage, attached to the garage, is a tiny home space, but is actually attached to the home. I truly think any way that you can create another home on your property that's a smaller square footage is such a great idea and can truly help your family in the future, and just thinking of them in mind. If it wasn't for tiny home living, I truly do not think my husband and I would have been able to have gotten ahead financially to be able to own a home today. We actually couldn't get a loan to buy a home. And in fact, all the homes that we went throughout the years to go look at, we couldn't even afford. And so that's why we ended up becoming general contractors and contracting out this home build. It was actually cheaper than buying an existing home, and we chose a house plan that it actually looks big, but it's actually under 2,000 square feet. We built it unfinished. We moved in unfinished because we were maxed at how much we could spend on the house build. And throughout the years, you guys have been able to see us DIY our home. For young couples starting out, I think that tiny home living or living in a small space can create so much financial freedom with the lower housing cost. And it means that you can spend fewer hours working and you can pursue passions, hobbies, and even start a family. It also creates a very strong relationship when you live in a close quarters. It makes you really work on your communication skills, and it can even strengthen couples' bonds and promote teamwork. Something I've always struggled with is clutter, and with a tiny home, you have to be so cautious with what you bring in, so it really encourages a minimalistic lifestyle, and it's easy to declutter and only keep what truly matters when there's less space, and it leads to less stress and a more organized life. One thing that I enjoyed about tiny home living was the fact that we could spend extra money on things like experiences and saving for our future. I would highly recommend tiny home living to truly anyone, and I'm so excited and grateful that we now get to build a tiny home and we get to potentially do the same thing in the future for our kids and right now for my mom.